If you've been using cannabis intentionally to help with your focus and your motivation, but you're still feeling foggy or distracted, here's another tip you might not have thought of. It could be your diet that's holding you back. Today, I'm going to share exactly which foods support dopamine, how to pair them with intentional cannabis use, and what to eat if you want to feel focused and feel good while doing it. Hi, I'm Tabitha Fritz. I'm the founder of Level Up, and I'm an intentional cannabis educator. I teach people how to align their cannabis use with foods that support their body, that support their dopamine production, support their goals, and their natural energy cycles. In this video, we are connecting how you focus with what you eat and using cannabis as an intentional bridge for better mind-body coherence. Here are the 3 topics that we're going to be getting into in today's video. First of all, which nutrients directly support your dopamine production and how they work. Number 2, the best foods to consume before and after you use cannabis. And third, how to find your own cannabis food pairing routine that supports your goals and supports your body instead of crashing you out. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's start by setting the foundation. And this video, of course, is part of the series that I've been doing on cannabis and focus and motivation and productivity, all things that directly come from your dopamine system. So we've been taking a look at how cannabis can support or harm your dopamine system and the practices that you can engage in to make this even more effective. So today we're going to be looking at the foods that you consume and how those can have an impact on your dopamine system and how you can use cannabis as a tool to consume even better foods and think about the timing when it comes to eating and your cannabis consumption with regards to productivity and your dopamine production. So at its baseline, dopamine is a neurotransmitter that affects your motivation. It affects your attention span. It affects your focus. It affects your memory, and it affects your energy. And what you eat can either support or sabotage your dopamine system. That's because there are some key nutritional building blocks of dopamine. You must consume these foods in order for your body to have them available to produce dopamine, which is what you want, right? You want your body to produce dopamine. But in order to do that, it's got to have these precursors. It's got to have these building blocks that it's going to use to create dopamine for your body. All right. So the building blocks that we are going to talk about, the key building blocks are number 1, tyrosine. So tyrosine is an amino acid, which means it's one of the amino acids that make up a protein, and it gets converted to dopamine in your body. Now we can absolutely eat tyrosine-rich foods, and we'll talk about what some of those foods are so that you have enough tyrosine in your body to support dopamine production. You also want to think about magnesium and B vitamins. They are both essential for dopamine synthesis, so your body being able to produce, create, make the dopamine out of other things, and they're partially responsible for receptor sensitivity. So how sensitive your receptors are in your brain to the effects of the dopamine that is there. We also want to consider antioxidants because antioxidants, when you have enough of them in your body, they help to protect your brain cells and all of the dopamine producing cells from free radical stress and damage, right? They get rid of the free radicals in your body so you don't get nearly as much oxidative stress or damage when you have an appropriate amount of antioxidants in your body. So you want to make sure that you're consuming antioxidants. And then the 4th building block of dopamine are omega-3s. And omega-3s will improve the receptor signaling and mental clarity. So they're going to, again, have an impact on your dopamine receptors in your brain and as well your mental clarity. So overall, they help with your focus and motivation, in addition to improving your dopamine receptor signaling. When your brain has the right nutrients, it makes more dopamine, it responds better to dopamine. And it helps you focus without that roller coaster of like the dopamine spikes and then the dopamine crash. You have a more even keel, a more even level of dopamine in your system when you've supported that dopamine production and activation with the appropriate nutrition, with the correct building blocks for that molecule to occur and be supported in your body. Okay, so let's talk about some of the top dopamine supporting foods. So those are the building blocks. Those are the nutrients that we want to make sure that we have in our body so that we're supporting our dopamine system. But now we can get into specific foods, and this is way more fun to talk about the actual foods that are going to support your dopamine system rather than just the things that are part of those foods, okay? So here are some of the best foods to eat alongside of intentional cannabis use to support your focus and your mental energy, because they contain some of those building blocks that we just talked about in the last section. All right, so number one is tyrosine-rich proteins. Like I said, tyrosine is an amino acid, which means it is part of a protein. A complete protein is a number of amino acids that have been built together, made up together, that your body can digest and use to, create muscle or do other things that it needs to do. So tyrosine-rich proteins that are rich in tyrosine are going to support your dopamine function. Number one, eggs. Eggs are very high in tyrosine. Also, turkey's a good one. Chicken, tofu, and pumpkin seeds. Okay, all 5 of those things: eggs, turkey, chicken, tofu, pumpkin seeds. All of those foods are very high in tyrosine. So eating those prior to consuming cannabis, or even, after consuming cannabis, those are going to help improve your focus and your mental energy. Maybe not immediately, right? You don't ingest some eggs. You don't eat an egg and then immediately the tyrosine goes to improve your dopamine function. But this is overall over time, right? If you're eating these dopamine supporting foods that are high in tyrosine, they're going to support your production and your dopamine levels over time. So number one is tyrosine rich proteins. Number 2, you want to eat foods that are high in magnesium and folate, okay? Because that's your B vitamin and your magnesium that we needed to synthesize and make sure that your receptors were sensitive enough to actually work with the dopamine that they are connecting with. So foods that are high in magnesium and folate are spinach, lentils, almonds, and avocados, okay? Those are all high in magnesium and folate. And they're going to help you with energy metabolism and mood regulation. In addition to supporting your dopamine function, they're going to help you with mood regulation. They're going to help you with some motivation and some focus. You might be seeing a theme here, and the theme is clean eating and healthy living, right? So that theme will continue. I promise you that you will not find potato chips on my list of dopamine supporting foods, which is kind of sad because I do love potato chips, but anyways, it's irrelevant. Okay, the next category was omega-3s, right? And if you will remember, omega-3s improve your receptor signaling and your mental clarity. So omega-3s come from things like fish. They're in all kinds of different kinds of fish, especially salmon. Salmon's very high in omega-3s. They're in flaxseed, so you can use regular flaxseed or you can use ground flaxseed meal in, like muffins or all kinds of different things. And let's see, it's salmon, flaxseed, and walnuts. Walnuts is the other one that's very high in omega-3s. So they always say that one little tip that I've heard in the past about foods that are good for different body parts is that foods that look like a body part are often good for that body part. So if you look at a walnut inside the shell, it actually looks a bit like a brain. And that is one of the reasons that we know that walnuts are so good for your brain. It's because they actually look a little bit like a brain. So that's a fun little tip. So they are so good for your brain, though, because among other nutrients and minerals, they have a lot of omega-3 in them, which the fats in omega-3s are excellent to support your brain. And the fat from the omega-3 will actually go into your brain and improve the receptor signaling by making it easier for the signals to get from one receptor to another. They jump across the synapses. When there's fat in there, it's easier for the signal to move across, and omega-3 helps a lot with that. So that's one of the reasons walnuts are good for your brain. And then some real quick wins for your brain that you could consume would be bananas, because bananas have both tyrosine and B vitamins in them. They have B6 in them, so that's really good for your brain. Beets are going to have both antioxidants and nitric oxide, which is good for your brain. And you can also think about apples, because apples have quercetin in them, which is an antioxidant as well that is very good for your brain. It's actually a flavonoid. But it is an antioxidant, so it will help to reduce the oxidative stress in your brain and protect your dopamine neurons as well. So 3 quick wins are bananas, apples, and beets. Like I said, you're not going to find potato chips on my list of dopamine supporting foods. Sorry, I wish they were, but in fact, they are not, right? So the more you can eat fresh, healthy foods, the better off you're going to be. And even if you don't have a list of foods that, contain high amounts of tyrosine or, have high amounts of antioxidants, pretty much most of us know how to eat healthy. Eat enough protein every day. Choose whole natural foods over processed foods as much as possible. Make sure you're getting enough fruits and vegetables. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Make sure you're getting enough fiber, and then you're pretty much good. Right? It's the same thing, with foods that support your dopamine production. It's an overall lifestyle choice. It's not about waking up in the morning going, I'm going to have a banana today because I'm going to need extra dopamine. It's about waking up every morning and going, what kind of nutritious breakfast am I going to start my day with so that I live a life that allows me to have support from my dopamine system, that allows me to feel focused, that allows me to get enough exercise so that, I have focus and I have energy and I have motivation to do things, or that allows me to rest when I need to rest. This is about an overall lifestyle choice that will support your dopamine production, your dopamine system in your brain, and at the same time allows you to focus better, right? If you think about it, so here, I'm going to give you a little example. My husband, he knew that I was recording a bunch of videos today, and so he sent me a text that said, there's a surprise for you outside your office on the bookcase. And I went outside on the office, or of my office, and I looked on the bookcase, and I found a piece of lemon loaf from Starbucks. Now, this is one of my favorite things in the world, and it's actually... When I was pregnant with my daughter, I ate a lemon loaf every single day for about 7 months. Gained a lot of weight. But I really, really like lemon loaf. It's one of my favorite things to eat. So he brought this for me, and I looked at it and I said, oh my God, I want to eat that so bad right now. But I also knew I had a few more videos to record today. And I knew that if I ate that delicious, sugary, processed food right now, it was going to create an energy crash for me. It will be more challenging for me to feel focused and motivated to get the rest of these videos recorded that I'm trying to record today and do the other things that I'm trying to do, because that highly processed, processed sugar food in my body is not what I need to support myself in this moment. I know that. Right? I'm saving it for later. That is my treat when I'm done recording my videos for today. When I'm done doing the work that I needed to get done today, I'm going to eat this lemon loaf, and it's sitting here next to me on my desk while I record this video so that it's motivating. I know I'm going to go have it. But this is an overall lifestyle choice, right? I didn't wake up this morning and go, oh, I got to record these videos today. I better eat a banana. No, I wake up every morning and go, okay, I have this much work to do this week. I know that I'm going to need to be motivated. I'm going to need to focus. So I'm going to choose the right healthy foods that will support me as I am going about my life, right? So that's what this is about too. This is not about you saying, I need more dopamine today, so I'm going to eat these foods today. This is about incorporating these kinds of foods into your diet on a regular basis so that you are supporting your body in the best way possible. So this is a weed channel. So how do those things tie together, right? Like, what does cannabis have to do with eating foods, healthy foods, as a lifestyle choice to support your focus and motivation overall? Well, there's a few ways. First of all, cannabis amplifies your body awareness. When you consume cannabis, you are able to identify your hunger and your energy shift and your satiety, which is, feeling full. You're able to identify that more clearly because you've learned to listen to your body. You have interoception. You have the ability to understand what's going on in your body and feel that. You have an awareness of your body. Cannabis can improve and increase that awareness, making it easier for you to hear from your body what it's saying to you when it needs different things for support or could use, different outcomes. You can hear that more clearly. And for a lot of us, cannabis can improve our desire to eat. It can increase our desire to eat, right? It gives you the munchies. It makes you want to eat more. So when you pair that experience with nutritionally dense foods, right? Foods that have a lot of nutrition in them, that helps to create more intentional eating patterns. So when if you have the munchies or you've had cannabis, instead of reaching for a bag of Doritos, you instead reach for the leftover cauliflower that was in your fridge from the night before, or you make a salad, or you have, some scrambled eggs or something different than that processed junk food. You are setting intentional consumption habits that are healthier for yourself and will help to establish those habits ongoing and make it easier for you to choose healthier food as a lifestyle choice. Okay, so that's number one. Cannabis increases your body awareness. Number two, cannabis also increases your presence, your ability to be present and to be, in the moment, in the here and now. And when you're in the moment and you're in the here and now, eating becomes a practice instead of being a distraction, right? And so often we eat just to get it, it's a distraction for how we're feeling, or we just want to get it down, or we're not focused, we're not present, we're not in the moment. But when you've consumed cannabis and then you eat, it's a lot easier to be here now, be focused in the moment and focused on how this food tastes and how it feels in my body and what's the texture like. Right? So it becomes a much more sensorily engaged experience when you've consumed cannabis prior to eating some kind of food, right? So this actually helps to support your dopamine regulation instead of big spikes. If I were to eat this sugary thing right now, I'm going to have not only a sugar spike, but I'm going to have a dopamine spike. When you eat processed sugary foods, it excretes dopamine in your brain. Your brain likes it. Your brain goes, oh, I'm going to get some really fast, quick energy, and this is going to be great, right? It likes it. It gives you dopamine. It wants to give you a reward for that. But that can lead to a crash. If you get a spike, you're going to get a crash. A better option is to increase your levels over time so that you can maintain a steady state, right? Processed food is not going to help maintain that steady state. It's going to actually increase the spikes and the crashes. Processed food, processed sugar, all that crap that's delicious and that we love. Right? Again, I'm not saying never eat processed food. I just told you I'm going to eat this lemon loaf as soon as I'm done with this because I love it. So of course I'm going to eat processed food, but I do it in moderation, right? I don't only eat processed food. I'm also going to drink some water while I do it. And I also had a nutritious lunch earlier, right? So it's about moderation. It's about finding ways to support yourself. At the same time, you can have a little treat. Everyone likes a little treat. There's nothing wrong with a little treat. That's for sure. Listen, this world's crazy. We got to have little treats. Okay, and then the third way. So cannabis amplifies your body awareness. It enhances your presence. And the third way that cannabis can impact your eating or your food-based dopamine support is by suppressing or stimulating your appetite. Cannabis can, well, depending on, a number of factors, including the person, including the cannabinoid ratio, including the terpenes that are in the product, cannabis can either suppress your hunger and make you not want to eat at all, or it can make you very hungry and it can stimulate your appetite, right? So THC, when you consume THC, it increases ghrelin, which is the hormone that causes hunger, that makes you feel like you're hungry in your body. So when you consume THC, it actually increases this hormone in your body that makes you feel and think you're hungry. So if you know that that's coming and you're going to consume THC, then get yourself prepped with some healthy foods ahead of time. So you don't just have to go and grab the bag of Doritos because that's all that's left. Make yourself a little crudité plate. Right? Chop up some vegetables, get a little pita, put some hummus on there, get a little dip, make it for nice, right? Or make yourself like a pasta salad or something. A little pasta, some vegetables thrown in there, a little olive oil and vinegar on top, some Italian seasoning, you're good to go, right? So think about it ahead of time and make sure that you've prepared healthy foods, nutritious foods ahead of time so that when that hormone does kick in after you've consumed THC, the ghrelin, then you've got something healthy and nutritious on hand and you're not just going to reach for garbage. And keep in mind that, a more balanced THC to CBD strain or a higher CBD strain is going to be a lot more effective in helping you manage your appetite. The higher your THC, the more that hormone is going to increase in your body and the more like you're going to feel like you have the munchies. So if you can increase the CBD or and decrease the THC or just increase the CBD overall, you will experience less of those sort of munchies because you will have less of that hormone, that ghrelin hormone in your body. Okay, you'll have more appetite control if you consume a lower THC product. Now, the goal here is not to avoid the munchies, because you're probably going to get them regardless of if you consume some THC, but it's about fueling your focus before you need it, right? So, even if I'm relaxing and resting today, I know that I'm going to need to focus tomorrow or 3 days down the road or a week down the road. So I'm fueling my body now with the appropriate nutrition to give me that focus later on when I need it, right? I'm not eating bags of Doritos. I am instead eating mini meatloaves and green beans or whatever, right? Like I'm making choices now that are going to support me in the future, down the road a little bit, a few days down the road. Dopamine production doesn't happen instantaneously. You don't eat something and then make dopamine out of it immediately. Like I said, it's about a lifestyle. It's about choices. It's about ongoing ways that you choose the things that you're going to put in your body so that those choices support you as best they can. Right? And nutrition's a big component of that. In the next section, we're going to talk about some specific focus boosting food and cannabis pairings. So I've thought through these things, and I thought about how I could pair different cannabis strains or products together with certain foods to help improve or boost your focus or my focus. So I tried all of these. I tried a bunch of different ones, and these were the 3 that I tried and worked the best. So again, I always say this, cannabis is unique to every consumer and every experience. So this may or may not work for you, but this gives you a place to start and a place to jump off from. So, you can try these 3 pairings and see how they work and then change it up and see what works best for you. Okay. So the first one, and I also, as part of this series on cannabis focus and dopamine, I have developed a PDF resource for you that is an intentional cannabis focus guide. It has all kinds of stuff in it. It's got resources from each of the videos on this topic that are in this series, this playlist that I'm putting together. There's stuff in there about terpenes. There's stuff in there about food. I have some of these pairings in there for food for you. There's stuff in there about, how you can use cannabis for focus. There are trackers in there. There's how you can think about microdosing. There's stuff in there about your social media consumption. There's, a 7-day challenge in there. So there's all kinds of resources and tools in there about cannabis and focus, including these pairings that I'm about to share with you. They are also in that book. So please, download it. It's free. Check it out. And if it helps you, I'd love to know about it. So please, share in the comments if it helps you, or just send me a message on levelupbud.com. That would be great too. Okay, so here are the pairings that I found work really well. Number 1, a morning smoothie and a microdose. And I enjoyed it. So it had a banana in it. I used almond butter because of the almonds, which have a lot of antioxidants in them as well. So it's got banana. It had almond butter. It had flaxseed. I put spinach in there, which was really good for the nutrients. Not so great for the taste, but whatever. It's a smoothie. You just get it down and then you deal with it. And then I put some protein powder in there as well. And then like my liquid, I like to use almond milk, but you can use whatever you want to. You can use regular milk. You can use water. You can use oat milk. Whatever works for you. That's your dopamine supporting food right there in that smoothie. And then you're going to pair that with a microdose. So whatever that looks like for you. So that might be a 1 milligram THC gummy. It could be a 1-to-1 gummy. It could be, a puff from a one hitter, whatever a microdose is for you. If you're not sure about microdosing THC, I do have a video on that. That was part of this series. I'll link it and put it up above at this point in the video, so you can go watch that one if you want to, about microdosing. But everyone's microdose is going to be different for them. It is sub-perceptual, so you would want to find what that microdose dosage is for you. So you're going to take the smoothie, you're going to have that microdose, and then this is really going to support focused work for you throughout the morning, right? So whether it's a planning session or creative work, this is what I usually have in the morning before I start my day, before I get going on my work. And I like to work for a few hours in the morning, like a solid block. So this can really support you, especially with the protein powder in there. It's going to keep you going for a little bit longer. And that microdose, if you've taken it in the form of a gummy and edible, it's going to last, a few more hours than if you just had a puff. If I would have had a puff that morning, then I would probably go back out, once an hour or whatever for another one to continue that microdosing until lunchtime. And then that takes us to lunchtime, right? Which again, we want to have something that's really protein rich. We want to make sure that we're having protein at every single meal. That tyrosine is going to support our dopamine production, but protein overall is going to support our life, our body, our health, our feeling full, our having enough muscle to support ourselves, right? So you're going to have a protein-rich lunch. The menu option I chose for you was a chicken salad because that is what I had that day. It was a delicious chicken salad. I'd had a rotisserie chicken from Costco the day before, and I took whatever was left and I turned it into a chicken salad, to which I added walnuts. Remember we talked about brains and how good walnuts are for your brain, and avocado. So I sliced some avocado and put that on top of the chicken salad. I made a sandwich out of it with, obviously whole wheat bread, because whole wheat bread is going to support you nutritionally more than like Wonder Bread. And then the cannabis choice then was a more balanced strain. So again, it was something that was 1-to-1, more THC to CBD. But I chose a dried cannabis bud at that point that had focus boosting terpenes in it. Right? Now, terpenes was another video that we talked about, the terpenes that can really help boost focus and mood and improvement. I will link it up here. You're going to have a lot of links in this video. But you're going to, when you consume a product intentionally that has terpenes that are going to improve your mood and focus, then that's going to make it easier to get motivated and get your work done in the afternoon. And if you're pairing that with food that's not heavy or processed, something that's lighter, something that's fresher, you're not going to feel so tired and heavy and like bleh after lunch the way that you kind of can, which makes it almost impossible to get anything done, right? So this sort of like nutritious protein focused meal along with paired with that focus uplifting terpene dried bud is going to be really good for those longer work blocks or times that you need to spend more focused on like deep work and getting deep work actually done. And then the third pairing that I wanted to share with you is an afternoon relaxation pairing. So after my work is done, before I have reconnected with my family, before I've started dinner or thought about anything like that, I like to just intentionally take a pause because I work really hard. I really love to work. I love working. I love adding value. I like doing stuff, but it can be tiring, right? So I like to intentionally pause when I'm done work for the day and then, give myself a beat to shut my work off because I can just keep going all night. And that's not healthy for me. It's not good for my family. So in order to do that, I get real intentional about it. And I've sort of formed this ritual for myself. And it is an herbal tea and a CBD vape. So it might have been the last video that I showed this in, but I have this little CBD vape that I keep here. It's just CBD, no THC in it. I, of course, do have THC vapes around as well, but this one is just for CBD. And so at the end of my work break, before I've done anything else, I have a little bit of that CBD vape and I make myself a cup of herbal tea. So that sort of ritual experience of making the herbal tea, whether it's peppermint or chamomile or lavender or whatever flavor it is that day, whatever I feel like doing that day, it really helps me sort of readjust myself and return back to this state of like, oh yeah, I remember who I am outside of work again, right? And the CBD just kind of like brings everything down a notch. Whereas I know if I consume THC at that point, I would either get a little too amped up or I would make myself too tired because I would overconsume to not feel so amped up. So CBD is great at that point, and a little herbal tea. If you wanted to use that mid-afternoon because you were having a mid-afternoon slump, you could 100% do that as well. I might switch to a green tea instead of an herbal tea at that time because it does have a little bit of caffeine in it. It will give you a little bit of a pick-me-up in the afternoon. But if you are like me, someone who's quite sensitive to the effects of caffeine and can't sleep at night if you've had any, then just stick with, an herbal tea that does not have caffeine in it and pair that with that CBD, or, you could have a little bit of THC in it, but you want something that's going to be higher in CBD because that's going to help you get back into that sort of work mode when you're in that afternoon. It's time to be done, right? So it can help like re-regulate your any kind of either overstimulation or understimulation. CBD can help with that. And then this would of course be really ideal during like a dopamine detox, or you're doing a dopamine fasting period. there was a video we did on cannabis and social media, why social media is killing your motivation and how cannabis can help. And in that video, we talked about doing a dopamine fast or a digital detox or something like that. So if you were doing that, then the green tea and CBD combination can help with that a lot as well. So yeah, and you might have noticed that, like I said, I would use the CBD tea combination for relaxation, but I also recommended that you use it to get re-energized during an afternoon slump. That's the amazing thing about cannabis. It responds so perfectly to intention that you could use the exact same product with two different intentions and it would work two different ways, right? Because a lot of cannabis actually has to do with the placebo effect. It has to do with your brain going, oh, great, you just reminded me of how I do the thing that I do, and now I can do it, right? So it's very interesting. Cannabis is very interesting that way, and that it will work in like almost two opposite ways if you just have the intention for it to work that way. So anyways, those are the 3 pairings that I liked the most that I came up with for you. Those are available again in the download. That's part of the description of this video. So you can download that for free and you can have those pairings. I made little recipes of them for you. So it's not just me talking about them. I told you exactly what I put in each one, and you can make it for yourself. If you want to try it, I'd really love to hear about it. I'd love to hear how it works for you. If you wanted to use cannabis to support both your dopamine-supporting food and nutrition choices, as well as your overall dopamine system, here's a way that you could do it. So let's say that you were going to consume a little bit of cannabis in the morning, like a microdose for focus and motivation and productivity. So you would wake up, you would have a really protein-rich breakfast that contained, foods that were high in tyrosine or foods high in antioxidants, foods high in omega-3s or magnesium or B vitamins. You want to eat those foods that will support your dopamine production. So choose a delicious protein-rich food, a dopamine-supporting food. Eat that before your cannabis session. So before you microdose, whatever it is that you're going to consume for focus and productivity and motivation. And then log your energy, log how you feel, log, scale of 1 to 10. How much energy do you have? How much focus do you have? How much motivation do you have? And then do that every day for a week, right? And see if there are any changes. See if anything changes. See if you have fewer energy crashes, or see if you have better output in your work, or see if you feel more motivated or more focused without needing to increase your cannabis dose. So just try it. Experiment a little bit with intention. Set the intention. This is what I'm going to do. And then try it and see how it goes. But you got to keep track of it, right? Every video, I say the same thing over and over again. You have to keep track of your consumption, or you're not going to have any idea what the patterns actually are. So please get a notebook, keep track of it so that you can see how it's affected you and what things are working well for you and what's not working well for you. Just keep in mind that your brain already knows how to focus. You just need to feed it right. If you pair cannabis with clarity instead of chaos, then it actually becomes one of the most powerful tools in your dopamine toolbox. Keep that in mind, and I will see you in the next one.